I did have like a situation one time. A certain Denver football coach was banned from a bar that I worked at for throwing chairs. Not saying any names, John Fox.
Describe being a bartender? It's fun, but at the same time, it's very stressful. You're pretty much babysitting all day. You're going back to high school and you're babysitting. That's kind of what I describe it as.
I think that's fair. I mean, everything, even like when we built the bars and everything, every single step that we take, we make it child-proof for like a large child. So like everything's like screwed into a wall, like nothing could be pulled down. Everything that happens is it's a giant playpen, and you have to just take care of children the entire time. Children that have credit cards. So I never got trained to bartend. So I was managing at Beatty's Mongolian Barbecue, and I didn't have a bartender for a shift, and so I just wrote myself in to bartend. And I'd never bartended before. My very first, I was like, okay, I'm confident, I can do this. And my very first drink, a guy ordered a Dorrier on the rocks, and I was like, sweet, got it. So I like walked over and I grabbed a Coors Light bottle and a glass of ice, and I was like, Coors on the rocks. And he's like, no, Dorrier on the rocks. And I was like, oh, and I like had no idea like what that meant. And so I was like, oh, I don't think we have it. And he was like, it's that bottle right there. And I was like, this is going to be fun.
Crash course, here we go.
Cause we're turning up the heat. I wanna see you clapping when you get up out your seat. It's time to make it happen when we hit these streets. I'm coming in hot and I can't be beat. Watch out now.
One of my favorites again, it was from Wales. It was just a to-go order. But the guy was ordering tamales, and he was like, well, he's like, do you guys serve tamales? I was like, yeah. And he's like, how can I order this? I was like, well, you can order them a la carte, or you can order a dozen. He's like, well, how many's in a dozen? It's like, I hate my life. It's like, oh, man. Why'd I have to explain this?
I recently was approached by a young man that I didn't know, which is not unusual for me these days. Are you Mo? Yeah, buddy, I am, and I don't remember his name at all now. I also drink sometimes. He informed me that I knew his mother and father. I said, oh yeah, what's her names? And her name is Katie. His name is not worthy of mentioning. Apparently this young man was conceived in our bathroom. As I recall, I was the one that interrupted that session some 22 years ago.
One time there was this wedding party, and this very drunk man decided to walk back into the kitchen and help himself into the freezer and dropped himself some onion rings before we found him. Spoiler alert, it was my wedding and it was my brother-in-law, and this was like right when I started working there. So I was off that night in my wedding dress, but still felt like I had to get a little bit involved in that situation. He was actually punched in the face and kicked out. So that was, like, I still feel a little bit of embarrassment for that, even though I clearly had, no hand in the whole thing. Ex-brother-in-law. My sister married him and divorced him. Yeah, so that was highlight of the night.
Some of the kids from college, they come home, they're like, do you know how to make a mic shot? I was like, a mic shot? Like, I don't, I'm like racking my brain, what's in a mic shot? I was like, I don't, do you know how to make it? They're like, well, no. And I was like, well, I mean, how'd you find it? They're like, this bartender in Bloomington, his name's Mike, he always makes it for me. I'm like, no, I don't know how to make a mic, like his name? No, that's his shot.
Is he famous? Is he on TV? Then I feel dumb and okay, how do you make it? No, it's a bartender, or he was at a house party. Oh yeah, this Greg's drink, so good. Well, what's in it? It was super fruity. They poured it out of a milk jug at this party I went to. Okay, cool. I'll try. I'm just gonna make something up, and it's not gonna be anything what you think, but it's gonna look red.
That's the rule for anything that's like a fruity candy shot. Like, if you don't know how to make it, like, I mean, between Jolly Rancher and Smarties and Skittles and anything like that, just shake it, fake it, make it red. So just vodka and juices until it's red, call it a day, charge them $6.
Yeah.
Shake it, fake it, make it red. We even have buttons in the computer that are just, because so many people come up, you know, make me something, like make me something strong. Like those are just buttons that you can hit in the computer.
So when
Like,
they
to
get
ring
their
up a drink,
tab
just
and
make
they,
me
hey,
something.
hey, I had 3 Miller Lights. What's this something fruity? Well, you asked me to make you something fruity. I charged you for it.
Makes it easier. People never make up their own minds.
So we kind of have nicknames for a lot of people. It's hard to retain information as a bartender. I'm like, you know, I've got 2 burgers minus this plus that, chicken tenders, sub this sauce. Like a lot of times you're holding information in your head. So as soon as you're done with it, you erase it. So admittedly, sometimes we don't always remember people's names. So instead we'll kind of just, you know, like there's this one guy who always wore a baby blue shirt every time we ever saw him for his whole life. So his name was just Baby Blue. And then Left Eye is this guy who wears sunglasses, but one of the lenses is always punched out.
I find it weird when all of a sudden there's somebody that's been a regular for a long time, and we all know this person. We all know exactly who they are, but nobody knows their name. And so nobody, like, they always pay cash. Like, you're just waiting for that one time they don't have cash where they can pay a credit card. So it's like, his name's Greg, and you're like, thank you. Like, it's the best moment when you get to figure out somebody's name that you've known for like 3 or 4 years.
I'm past the point of no return. I've chit-chatted with this guy so many times.
We all know,
He
like,
drinks vodka soda with a lemon twist every time. I've got the drink ready when he's walking in the door.
everybody knows to, like, put his tab under the name, like Big Red. That's like, we all just call him Big Red. We don't even know what his name is.
I've witnessed a $1,000 tip going to a pregnant girl, but she had like a good, you know, rapport with this guy. He would come in just to see her, and she was about to pop. And then this past Christmas, a couple of the girls here got to split a $500 tip.
I still have a regular that comes in, and it doesn't matter if his bill's $38 or $300. He throws a $100 bill at me, and you know that's just his thing. There was a $500 tip that I got, and I'm working by myself, so I'll just put that right in my pocket.
I got a $500 tip when I was like 21 on like a $20 tab from a guy, and that was awesome. Like I thought that changed my life. I was like, I'm quitting my job and moving to LA. But as a bartender, that money goes fast.
Yeah.
I bartended one night at BD's Mongolian Barbecue, and I was like amazed because I like made like $340 that night, and I was like, I'm rich. And then I went to Fox and Hound and spent it all and more, like after my shift. It's like, well, that was stupid. Biggest I've seen, Nick's $1,800 tab. So it was a Sunday. He was drinking football, and like as he sat down, Nick was bartending, and they know each other, and they were getting to chatting, and he was like, hey, I want this round of shots. And he'll always order like 20, 30, 40 shots at a time sometimes. Nick and him had made a bet, and if he won, then he convinced him to, whatever your tab is, you tip 100%. They made the bet, and he won, so he got the 100% tip. And then, like, Nick's whole job at that point was just to get him to buy more drinks all night long. And so he got his tab up to like $1,800. And then he tipped him $1,800.
Yeah.
He got him to do it.
That was a fun conversation the next day from...
That was your shift.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be your shift.
Yeah. It wasn't, though. I just wanted a day off to go drink, and I should have stayed here and drank and gotten paid for it. Damn it.
So I was put on a banquet. I worked at a place where we've got this like basement, and a lot of times it's rented out for private parties, whatever. So when you're put on a banquet, sometimes you pour the drinks. You're not just ringing in the tickets and waiting for your bartender to make them. So this is kind of like the first time I'm behind the bar. So what happened, Kings of Leon was in town with Black Keys. Kings of Leon was pretty big. Black Keys were pretty new. So we knew that they had asked us to open up the basement for them after their show, like around midnight. So cool, okay, like I can do this, I'm ready for this, you know. So lead singer comes and sits right down at the bar, get him a drink. There's this like big dude next to him in a brown leather coat. You know, I'm thinking it's like security roadie, whatever. I look at the guy and I'm like, man, you look an awful lot like Dallas Clark. This is like prime, like Colts have just lost the Super Bowl, actually the previous year against the Saints. So this would have been 2010. So then I said that, and, you know, said, God, you look a lot like Dallas Clark. And he's like, oh yeah, I get that all the time now that I moved to Indy. Like, and then we started talking about football, and I've just completed my first fantasy football season and like killed it. One regular season, one Super Bowl. I'm like, Dallas Clark won me my league last year. Like, he was my secret weapon. I had the Dallas Peyton stack, had a die in there. Like, everybody made fun of me for taking Colts, but it worked out, like highest scoring team, whatever. I mean, this, you know, goes on for like 10 minutes where I'm just like geeking out about the season I just had and how much I love Dallas Clark. And I took him 3rd round this year, just got done with that draft. And then I noticed other people start addressing him as Dallas. And I'm like, oh, they think he looks like him too. And then I look out further into like the dining room and see Anthony Gonzalez, Austin Collie, Pat McAfee, just a whole table full of Colts. And then it finally hits me, like, I've just had a 10-minute conversation with Dallas Clark about Dallas Clark. I had no idea. I don't even know if he thinks I was like messing with him, but no, like I just really didn't, because I was like, you know, kind of like in the mindset of like, I have to deal with these famous people. I hope that's not weird. Like Colts didn't enter mine, and I didn't care about Kings of Leon. I'd never even heard of Black Keys at this point. But all of a sudden, all these Colts are in my face. And yeah, I probably forgot to ring in a few drinks.
Welcome to Just Fishing! It is football season!
Everybody remembers that we've been pranking each other for years and years. Like, not just us, but pranking everybody.
Just in general. Like, if you're new to the bar, we saw every bar, every restaurant has the same kind of joke, but we always try to, the coffee urn, you need to empty the hot water out of that thing. It's hooked up to the wall. It's hooked up to the hot water heater. You're going to stand there until your arm falls off. But, you know, we'll get people like that.
Back in the day, we used to send people to other restaurants to go grab stuff. And the other restaurants, like, everybody was in on it. So they'd go over to Kona and we'd be like, you know, the left-handed spatula, any of that stuff. Like, that's what, in the industry, like, everybody does the same stuff.
The wing separator.
Yeah.
You need to go down the street to Hooters, because when you fry the wings, they have to be separated. Otherwise, they stick together when you fry them. Can you just run down the street and grab that? You go down the street to Hooters and ask them for it. It'd take them a second and be like, no, we gave that to the other bar down the street. So then you go to another bar. Nobody has it by the time you get back an hour and a half later. And if you haven't figured it out by then.
They'll send them back with a piece of equipment, and then you get there and you're like, this isn't it. This is the big one. We have the small one. So you send them back out. That's what we did for a long time back in the day to Buelos until the kid, so this is while people are training. Like, they're on the clock. And they're supposed to be learning stuff, and you're just sending them all around town. And this isn't just us. Like, this is across the industry. Everybody does this.
Corporate restaurants love this.
Then we had a kid that got in a fender bender while doing it, and did that joke.
Yeah.
One of the bartenders, I don't know if I should say this one, but kind of passed out in the office with the water running and flooded the bar in the basement. Believe it or not, he's coming in to train here on Wednesday, but he knows that I will not have any of that. And he's actually a really good bartender and a really nice guy.
There was a time when our security advisor did have a can of what he was claiming to be bear mace on his belt, and things got to a head in our little vestibule on the other side there, and he ended up not only cap stunning himself, but the head bartender at the time and the little girl that was checking IDs at the door, all basically for no really good reason at all. So, you know, we're not here to promote the violence, but be careful, because she might get cap stunned on accident. I think there was a number of customers that got hit as well. You know, if you let that stuff loose in a confined space, we're all in trouble. He didn't last much longer, actually. He threw his keys at me the day that he quit, and We haven't talked to him since then. I remember the night that Billy Corrigan's band, that Smashing Pumpkins, they came in and he was being approached from all sides and started kind of a ruckus, but he came to the bar and wanted to know why we weren't doing anything about, we're not going to cordon you off at your table. I said, I really don't see the problem. Obviously, you're popular. He's like, you don't know who I am? And I said, no, I don't. Do I need to know who you are? And in kind of a fit of pique, he literally stomped the floor and said, I'm Billy Corrigan, damn it. I thought you guys knew. You're not Elvis, bro. You're just not. And I don't know. I think I told him I'm more of a Jane's Addiction fan or something. Like, oh, I thought you were the Violent Femmes or something. He didn't like it.
Our prank war got good.
Yeah.
Want to go into that?
Sure.
How'd it start?
You.
Which one?
So we prank each other, mess with each other a lot. We've known each other for 10, 15 years. But this original long, drawn-out prank war started. We were hanging out one night. We were both drinking. I was the first one to pass out. This was when everybody had flip phones. I didn't know that you could put a password on a flip phone. I woke up the next morning from a text message from Judge Dredd. And I'm just one-eyeing it, looking at my phone, so confused. What? And I start reading the previous text message. It's like, well, this is my roommate, Justin. And I back out and I go to my contacts. Bugs Bunny, Vega from Street Fighter's in my contacts. Half of my contacts have been completely changed. I have no idea who anybody is.
Oh, that's fun.
That's how it started that time.
What was the next? You put my car for sale?
Yeah, he left his car at Joe's overnight. So we had a bunch of dry erase markers to write stuff on the windows for the bar. So I put his car for sale, $500 or best offer. Wrote his phone number on there.
I woke up that day and I had like 13 missed calls. And they were all from like 317 numbers, and none of them were like in my phone. And like I immediately was like, something happened to my family. So I called like my dad, he's fine. I called my brother, he's fine. I called my sister, she's fine. Just like going through, I'm like, what is this all going? Like, what is happening? And all of a sudden I get a phone call in from another 317 number, and I was like, hello? It's like this. He's like, oh yes, are you the one selling the Jeep? I was like, no, I'm not selling it. Damn it. Well, I hung up the phone, and I went back, and I got to my truck, and sure enough, right on the Jeep, right on the back of it, it was $500 OBO, and it's like parked perfectly as though it was being sold, and I was like...
He got to work at 5 o'clock that day. I walked into work at like 6 or 7, and he's on his cell phone behind the bar, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he's just glaring at death, staring at me. He's already planning his next move. The end game turned out to be, I woke up one morning, and I had a bunch of missed phone calls and text messages. And I'm just sitting there. All right. Again, I'm one-eyeing. What's going on? What's going on? Oh, there's a picture message. Open it up. It's a dick. I start reading the text messages. Hey, are you John from Craigslist? Oh, no.
Johnny D.
Oh, no. Oh, no. What has happened? What has happened? I instantly call him. He doesn't he's waking up in the morning too, and I was like, hey man, so I'm getting dick pics, and he lost his mind. Okay, cool. You're responsible. One guy sent me multiple angles, which I'm still really confused how you do that by yourself.
They're all like local dudes taking shots of their dicks and sending them to you, man.
Yeah, I was not happy about that. I'm sure I still get missed calls or phone numbers I don't know who they are, and I'm pretty sure to this day some of those are those people.
That was a fun day. Some random dude came into the bar.
It was a friend of Best Boners.
Like, big, stocky dude, clean cut, and I had him come over to the bar top and go up to John, and he's like, hey man, he's like, are you Johnny D? And like he went like pale in the face.
I was in the middle of something, and I was like, 1 second, okay. I went in the office, and I had to explain to the manager at the time what had just happened in the past 24 hours. And he started losing his mind because he already knew what was going on. And the guy kind of comes to the window of the office with another employee, and they're losing their minds. I'm like, I was about to have a heart attack, or like, I don't know what to tell this guy. I don't know how to explain to him what's transpired in my life recently.
You thought you were gonna have to move.
Yeah.
I went in there to calm me down. You're like, I have to move, and I was like, it's just a joke, man. Nobody knows where you
I like at this point, I didn't know what was on the website. Like, do they know where I live? Like, what's going on? They already have my phone number.
People want to go out and have a good time, but it's a bartender's job to make sure jukebox music's playing right music, right? Sports is on. And if you're an asshole and you can't handle your booze, you got to go.
There have been so many ejections over the years, and you really do have to go over the top. I mean, we will put up with a lot of your BS, but you know, you put your hands on somebody or you have the wrong things to say. If your attitude is just generally crap when you walk in the door. We threw Pauly Shore out. That was one of my favorites, but he couldn't stop, you know, cussing at the girls. He left kicking and screaming and spitting outside and F this place and, you know, I'll never come back. And in mid-swing, he's like, what's this place called again? You know, I'm going to make sure to write it down. And, you know, I've always been kind of a fan of his, but after that night, like, you fell apart. You're done. You know, I'm through with you. And you're doing little stand-up gigs, you know, like here in Broadway. I'm sorry, but I think I see why.
I used to do a Christmas party every Sunday night, the Sunday beforehand. It's all industry people, so I don't get busy till like 11 p.m. And one night this guy was in, and I wouldn't serve him anymore. I said, you've had enough to drink. I said, I'm not going to serve you. You know, here's a water. If you want to get argumentative, he was relatively cool, but he wanted to be argumentative. I say, hey, man, you either drink the water, enjoy your night. It's going to be a fun night. There's going to be a lot of people here. It was before Tinder. He wanted to meet a girl. You know what I'm saying? Man, things will be cool, like, but I'm not serving you anymore. We're done. And he was cool about it. So I gave him a water. And then got closer to midnight and we got busy and girls got there and he wanted to buy a round of shots. And I said, well, you're not going to drink any, right? I said, you're not drinking. I've cut you off. He said, I'm not drinking. I said, you promise? I promise. I said, all right. I said, I know you're here to pick up girls. Do not be drinking. I mean, I pre-talked about it. Sure enough, man made a round of drinks. He does a drink. I say, hey, I saw that. You're out of here. I close him out for his tab. I give it to him. And he tips me roughly, I don't know the exact number, but roughly like 23 cents off like a $50 tab. It's 5 till midnight and I'm starting to get busy. It's starting to get packed and I'm trying to, you know, I'm trying to show the love that people need. So midnight comes, I start a toast. I stand on top of the bar and it's full of industry people. It's packed, head to toe, left to right, north, south, east, west. And I said, this guy right here, paraphrasing, said, I'm gonna give you guys tonight an industry present. I said, everybody works hard. I said, tonight, I'm gonna give you guys many presents, but your first present is this motherfucker right here tipped me 23 cents off a $50 bill. So let's give him a big fuck you on the way out the door. And everybody went, fuck you. And the guy started yelling at me. I said, get out of here, man. The best part about the story is like for the next, I don't know, 20 minutes, bartenders are coming up. $20 bill, $20 bill, $50 bill. That asshole's at my bar tonight. Da-da-da-da-da. That asshole's at my restaurant tonight. Like this guy made a round and then made it to my bar. And I just ironically, like that was an ass. I mean, the way he was treating people was terrible.
So I have this table outside and their Long Island's don't taste like they have any alcohol in them. Like, well, it's supposed to taste like iced tea. That's why it's called a Long Island iced tea. But sure, I'll go remake them for you. And you know, their burger was raw, and their this was that, and so I can just already kind of tell they're going to be problematic. But that's when you learn to just stay calm and don't give them any reason to point the finger at you. And so I'm trying to be accommodating. Next thing I know, one of the servers comes in and just like, yo, it's about to go down outside, like a fight is about to happen. So I go out there, and the reason this gentleman is upset is because a woman sitting by herself at an adjacent table, I guess, was looking at him, and that upset him. So they start screaming at each other. Yeah, he gets up. I do immediately kind of scan both parties for a weapon. That's something you kind of just instinctively do, I guess, when you've broken up enough fights or kicked enough people out. Didn't see any, so he stands up, she stands up. For whatever reason, my like defense mechanism, and I always just like hold up my hands and try to get between people. So that's what I did. He flips her table over with her drink and her phone on it. Yeah, it just got like escalated. So basically, I diffuse all of this. I kick the guy out after I get him to pay his tab, which is like kind of my secret like thing. Like anytime I have to kick someone out, I want to make sure I get him to pay their. It's kind of a strength of mine. So I get him to pay his tab, you know, talk him down. So then this lady comes in afterward and starts, you know, reprimanding me for how I handled the situation. She's like, "Are you not going to kick her out too?" And I'm like, "Well, I didn't see her be disruptive. Is there something I missed?" Like, "Well, my daughter, that guy came over, he was spitting on our food, we had a gun waved in our face," and yeah, and I'm just like, whoa. So finally I just say the magic words, gift card, and this is after they're never coming back. They've never experienced anything like this. You say gift card, and she's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, thanks." Like, what are you going to use this gift card for if you're never coming back?
These girls walked in to Fox, and they had been drinking.
They had a concert or something like that.
And she was wearing, like, 6-inch heels. Like, I mean, straight up. Walked in, she's already stumbling back and forth. They got to the bar, they ordered some shots, and I was like, no. I was like, I'm not serving you. And they were all pissed off. Like, the two friends are there, and they get mad about that. The one girl's like, "I'm going to the bathroom," and she like starts teeter-tottering over towards the bathroom, and she starts losing it. And there's a wet floor sign there, which are just like, you know, this collapsible wet floor sign.
Yellow.
And so she tries to like balance herself on the wet floor sign, which obviously doesn't work. She falls down, and on the baseboard, it's like a 1x6 baseboard, and she hits it at this perfect angle on her face. She ends up cracking off all of her top teeth, cracked in half, and it bit her lip off. So it was connected on the side still, but it was like hanging down. And she was so drunk that she just was like, still went to the bathroom, and she came back out, and she was like, "Is this bad? Is this bad?" And it's just, there's blood everywhere. Is this bad? Like, it is just hanging. So she went back to the bathroom. We had to call 911. The paramedics got her. They took her out in a stretcher, and like her friend was at the bar top, and I was like, "Your friend's going to the hospital. Do you want to go?" And she's like, "I don't know her." And I was like, "What is going on? Like, you are the worst people ever."
Pretty sure I saw you guys holding hands walking in the door, keeping each other up.
It looked like a murder scene in the bathroom. We had to take the mop to the walls and the mirror.
There was a lot of bleach that night. A lot of bleach.
Terrible.
Can't find this at Applebee's, folks. You just can't.
About 1 a.m., one of my favorite people to work with, Therese, and I are closing it down on a Saturday night. So these 3 guys walk in. 2 of them are perfectly fine and not seemingly too drunk and behaved. One of them has a lit cigarette in his hand when he's walking in. This is well after Marion County has banned smoking in bars, so it's like not new information at all that he's not supposed to be doing this. So typically, I'm kind of good cop. I love to have a bad cop with me anytime there are these situations. So Therese was definitely bad cop that night. So, you know, she asks him to put the cigarette out. And he's like, "What? I'm not doing anything wrong." And she's like, "You can't smoke in here. You can't have that." So he looks her dead in the eyes and turns it around Cherry first, shuts his mouth around it, doesn't flinch. Like, this guy was either super drunk or super psycho or both. We still don't kick him out right away because he did, you know, put out the cigarette. So we told his 2 friends, like, "All right, what are you guys drinking? We'll serve you." Your friend, obviously, not a chance. So, you know, that ends up being a problem for him. So when Therese is explaining to him that he has to leave, and he's like, what, why? And she's like, you did this, you did that, you ate your cigarette like a fucking monkey. And yeah, and then she just keeps going off, and of course, like, you know, afterwards comes up to the rest of us working, she's like, is that okay? Is that weird to say? Like I don't, like, it worked, he's gone. Like, I don't know if monkeys eat cigarettes, but sure, yeah, whatever you say.
We used to have a regular at Fox. I was on his shift, but you know, he'd come in and have a couple beers, but he had back surgery a couple years previously, so every once in a while he'd take his muscle relaxers, which you're not supposed to do and which we didn't know at the time. We just thought he'd have a couple beers and he'd be okay, but he'd also be really wasted, and we'd always have to get him a ride home. Before Uber was really a thing, we'd always have to find him a taxi or something home. Your shift.
So he has a couple beers, and he has like a shot of Jaeger, and he goes from like normal, talking like we are now, to no longer awake, like that. And that happens, like, it's sad, but it's not the first time I've seen that happen. So he's just all of a sudden asleep, and he is now like drooling vomit from his mouth. So I grab, the first thing I have is a red cup, so I put that under his mouth. So he's drooling into that, and then I go to grab a bucket to switch out, and like the cup at this point had like almost filled up. This is terrible. So I go to grab the red cup and switch it out with the bucket, and as I'm doing that, as the cup's like all the way full and his mouth's right on top of it, he sneezes. He sneezes in the cup, and it just sprays everywhere. And so I was like, just hit with puke, snot, switch the bucket out, and I'm just so grossed out. So I go around the bar, and I'm like, I want to throw him out because I'm just mad right now because I'm covered in puke.
It's fine.
Puke sneeze.
Fine. Everything's fine.
And I walk around the bar top, and I'm not going to like throw him out, but I like need to do something with this guy. And I get there, and all of a sudden it hits me. And it is this foul, foul stench. And I look, and he's leaning over the bar, and at the back of his, at his pants, I could see it.
You know when you're a kid and there was Play-Doh and you push it through the fun like the star shape or the circle or the
diarrhea is now coming out the top of his pants and out the bottom of his legs.
And through the seams of his jeans.
And like
I didn't know jeans were breathable.
Everything hit me. I ran outside and started throwing up. I couldn't deal with it. It was too much for me. Like it's things. I don't know if like that's why I can't deal with like puke or poop as well anymore. But that was a bad day. So we had to figure out how to get him home. Remember this? L.A. So we couldn't like call a cab because he's covered in puke and poop. He can't drive. He doesn't have any friends there. We don't know what to do with this guy. We call the cops. We feel like they're just gonna be mad.
They're not gonna take him home.
So L.A. was there, and I was like, "Hey, L.A., you work with Francisco, right?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Mind giving him a ride home, man?" Like he didn't know what was going on. But I was like, I'll just pawn this off to the next person. It was really shitty.
As soon as you take responsibility, you verbally said you got him off my hands. We're good now.
Then we just had to clean up the poop off the ground, the puke off the bar top,
The chair was gone. The chair was gone for like no.
I got thrown in the alley. That was a bad day. It's sad. Like I mean, how many times I've ended up cleaning up poop? Like I've had to clean up poop out of the urinal,
just
out of the
bodily
sink.
fluids in general.
Like, I got told, I was like, "Hey Ryan, you're not gonna like this," and I was like, "What?" They're like, "You have a problem in the urinal." I assumed like somebody puked in it or it's backing up or anything. I get back there and there's a shit in the urinal. I'm like, how is this possible? It's like, stop it. And on the sink one time.
On the sink?
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
JC. One. It's sad that like, so when we said that this job is like taking care of children.
Example number 17 is there's poop on the sink.
What are the sex toys that we found here?
Oh, the giant dildo out back?
That's what Fudgy over at Castle and I always used to put a dildo in his stocking every year. Then you could like see it too, like through the stocking. Like all the stockings are hanging there normal, then Fudgy's you can see just like this long.
How could you tell? How could you tell?
He was a happy boy on Christmas.
More than he should have been.
These three guys are at my bar. We just started talking music, and we hit it off. And they said, "You ever heard of a band called Pepper?" I said, "No, I have not." They said, "Man, we're opening up a 311 tomorrow. Are you a 311 fan?" I said, "Actually, I'm a pretty big 311 fan." So they let me tickets. And this band called Pepper comes out, and they open up before they hit a note on the guitar, sing a note before they do anything. They says, "This goes out to our boy Bobby T from O'Reilly's, best fucking bartender we've ever met." And I'm sitting out in the grass, and my daughter, she's 19 now, but she's probably like maybe 10 or 12 at the time. So I'm sitting like away from all the fun festivities the kids may or may not be doing. But then a group of people go by, and it was a group of just regulars, like, "Hey, did you hear that shout out they just gave you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I did." And when they gave the shout out, my daughter looked up, she goes, "Are you Bobby T?" I'm like, I said, "Well, that's what they're calling me yesterday at the bar." And that was what the tickets name was around her, was Bobby T. So my friends talked me into it, and we ended up walking closer to the stage, and we kept my daughter in the middle, and then we had a circle of friends around so nobody could like run into her, protect her and whatnot. And they actually saw me out in the crowd, and they're like, "Hey, that's Bobby T right there." And they changed the lyrics to the very last song to, they said before they played the song, they said, "You ever go out for one drink, but then you have two, and then you have three, and then you just stay there all night?" Like, that's what happened to us. And then they changed the lyrics to, "Bobby T, just one more." So that was pretty cool. And I got to go backstage and meet the band. And I was a diehard 311 fan growing up. 311 was the headliner. I get to watch them on stage, so I get to go walk up on the stage and watch that. And I was in a cover band in high school. We played a lot of 311. Like, I was probably the 30th time I've seen 311, but the first time I ever got to watch on that stage there. And it all happened because I was bartending on Sunday. A couple years later, I go open up my own bar, and they said, "What do you want to name it?" I just said, "Bobby T's." That's the best name I come up with. So I named it Bobby T's Pub.
Three of us were sitting at the table. There was two bartenders, and there was a country concert. Cole Swindell and John Langston down in Deer Creek, and rain came in, and so we were sitting here drinking, but we knew that the concert might get canceled. So we were prepared because there's two bartenders on.
Here just in case.
But if the concert gets canceled, we know that everybody's just gonna show right back up here. We're the closest bar to the venue. So we know everybody will be back here after the concert, or if the concert gets canceled during the concert. So we wanted to make sure that the two bartenders that were here didn't get their asses kicked completely. We were here to make sure everything would be fine. So sure enough, the concert gets canceled. We all jump behind the bar, start bartending. This place fills up with people. Decently busy.
Yeah.
Pretty busy. Somebody hits me up. They're like, "Hey, Ryan, there's a phone call." And I was like, "What do they want?" They're like, "They want to know about scheduling a band." I was like, "I'm busy right now. Like, it's Sunday night. I'm not going to schedule a band right now. Like, I have to bartend." Take a message. 2 minutes later, they're like, "Hey, Ryan, they're calling again." And I was like, "Give me the phone." It's like, "Yeah." They're like, "Hey, we want to know about our band playing there." I was like, "Look," "call me back like Monday through Friday between 2 and 4. I'll get you scheduled in if it works out, but like, this is not the right time." I was like, "I don't know if you know this, but the country concert got canceled." And the lady on the phone is like, "Yeah, I know. I represent the acts." And I was like, "What?" And she goes, "I represent John Langston and Cole Swindell, and we were wondering if we could come down there and play tonight." And I take the phone, I go to the office. And I was like, "Can you just say everything you just said like one more time for me?" So yeah, represent Cole Swindell, John Langston. They want to play tonight. They want to come to your venue because they're in town already. They want to play. People are here. I was like, "Great. That sounds awesome." It's like, "Well, there's a catch." And I was like, "Oh, what's the catch?" They're like, "We don't have any equipment. All of our equipment's locked up in a van or truck or whatever, so we need you to supply all the equipment." I was like, "I don't have the equipment, but yes."
We're still going to do it.
I grabbed a piece of paper and I was like, "Okay, tell me what I need." And she went off, 4 mic stands, amps, speakers, guitars, like all this equipment. Wrote it all down. I was like, "When do you want to start?" It's like 1 hour. I was like, "I'll have it here." Hung up the phone. I immediately got on the phone with all the employees, and I was like, SOS, all hands on deck, guys. Like, this is what's happening. Cole Swindell and John Langston are coming. I need everybody that's available to get here because we're about to get our asses kicked and we don't even know what's going to happen. Put it out to my business partners and got it online saying that they were coming. Then I got on the phone with every musician around town that I knew, every DJ, and I was like, this is the equipment that I need. What do you have? They're like, well, I have these cords and I have this amp. And I was like, bring it. What do you have? Like, I have 2 mic stands, 2 mics, and a guitar. Oh, bring it. And so, like, everybody just kept, like, bringing me stuff. And, like, I couldn't have done it without all these awesome musicians helping me out.
A hodgepodge of equipment. And
yeah. So they, all the equipment showed up. We got them going. We got the band on stage. And this place was, I mean, asses to elbows, as tightly jam-packed as you can be. Just people standing on top of other people. And we pulled it off somehow.
Yeah.
It was a crazy night. So they got up there. They played for a couple hours. I mean, it was like a concert. This whole, everybody, you know, hands up, trying to touch him as they're over the crowd, like pouring beers. I think John Langston iced Cole Swindell up on stage.
Yeah.
They drank Jameson shots, in case you're curious. A lot of Jameson shots.
which we're okay with.
But that was a fun night. It was crazy, and I didn't know what to think. People couldn't get in the doors. It was...
It's one of the better impromptu nights.
Yeah. They're like, well,
We've
what about
had.
the fire marshal? I was like, I don't care about the fire marshal tonight. It's Sunday
By
night.
the time he gets here, everybody's going to be gone, okay?
It's Sunday night at 9 o'clock. He'll be okay. Then we got a bunch of calls after that. You know, even some news stations asking about it and how it all went. So
Do they play there on a regular basis? When are they going to be there again? You don't understand. That's never.
We get to be, you know, a part of all the fun stuff, March Madness, like just all the different conventions when Super Bowl is in town. And you meet so many people from so many walks of life, both that you work with and that you're serving.
This is a melting pot, and I always say this is easily one of the major crossroads of the Midwest, if not America. You meet all kinds in here. You'll have the big redneck sitting with the little tiny gay girl at the bar, and they're sharing shots and sharing stories, and you see people that have never met until 25 minutes ago, and now they're best friends.
Best part about having this job is that people want to be here. And all day long, some people are waiting to get off work to get to that bachelor party because they only get out twice a year. Or they only get 2 business trips. Or their wife they only get out once a month because they got the kids the other 3 weeks. It don't matter. But when the stars line up, man, it's a fun night for everybody to hang out.
It's part of that social atmosphere and that love aspect that people just want to come and sit around the round table and shoot the shit and let go the issues of the week and, you know, come out pitching again tomorrow.
we always called it like a recession-proof industry. And we're like, yeah, we're in a great industry because no matter what happens in the world, like, we still have a job. And then 2020 happened. And it was like, oh, well, here we are.
That escalated very quickly.
We're just sitting at the bar by ourselves.
What was that like? I mean, that just came out of the blue.
COVID, man, it definitely came out of the blue. I was actually sitting in Ohio at a bar top when, so Ohio announced that they were closing down before us. And I was sitting at a bar in Ohio, and on the news, it just went that, like, Ohio was going to shut down tonight at, like, 10 p.m. It was, like, a Sunday night. It was, like, Ohio shuts down at 10 p.m. And the bartender, like, lost his mind. He had, like, this giant freak out and, like, walked out the door. And I was there with my girlfriend at the time, and we're sitting there, and we're like, well, this is weird. Like 10 minutes later, finally, all of a sudden, this manager came up. He's like, "Are you guys okay?" And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "I guess we'll take our check."
We'll
He's
leave.
like, "Okay." He goes, "I'll try to find it." And I was like, "Okay, here we go." So we drove back, and then we got shut down 2 days later. I was like,
Yeah.
"Thank God we don't live in Ohio." Indiana's so much better. 2 days later, we were doing the same thing here at this bar top.
Yep.
I remember the night we were watching an NBA game, and it didn't involve a local team. It was just, you know, and we heard about the Rudy Gobert positive, and he was the first. And, you know, the next night, somebody was telling me I shouldn't touch my face, and I was yelling, "It's my face. I'll touch it if I want to." And the week after that, we're shut down. And you're talking about scary.
In 2020, I was working across the street from Banker's Life, where half of it was going on. So, but even, I remember, like, we were super crazy about having hand sanitizer everywhere, but there weren't masks yet. But yeah, it was like I think a game was going on when it was announced, like, this tournament is done. Like, everybody's going home. And we all just kind of looked at each other like, whoa, now what?
Before COVID hit, my bar was doing well enough in Lafayette, Indiana. I was working 1 day a week down here in Indianapolis on Sundays. Worked at the same place for 15 years on Sundays. My therapy. And things were going so well, both those bar places, both those restaurant places, my own and one of my best friends, his restaurant, his bar, been there 15 years. Things were going well enough, and I was making enough money that I took a less than a $12 an hour teaching job for fun. Not to make money, because I made so much money bartending and had such comfort that I could continue to make that money for my family. I took a teaching job and did that job for 3 days, and everything came apart. My restaurants were done. The place I've worked at for 15 years and provided for my family was done. And I'm thankful I got a job making $12 an hour.
Today, I signed an executive order that instructs the ATC to suspend any and all food and beverage licenses for those who violate the order.
The time for warnings is over.
Everybody we knew all of a sudden was unemployed. It was kind of crazy. We stayed open here for a couple weeks serving to-go food, but man, that was just to try to keep money in some of the people's pockets, and it was not easy.
And a lot of us pulled together because there were some people that are single moms or they have families, so a lot of us pulled together and helped people out where we could, because none of us worked for 6 months.
We didn't know how long it was going to go.
Every day, like every hour almost in the beginning there was just kind of up in the air. You just are always waiting for the next update.
If you don't go to work, you're not getting paid. So it was just like, and especially, we expected that to be the bounce back month. After a slow, January and February are always pretty slow. So yeah, I mean, my roommate and I contacted our landlord before he contacted us, and we're just like, hopefully we can stay on track with rent. We're looking into these USBG grants. We're looking into unemployment. We're throwing all these darts, all these places, but we don't know how we're going to, pay rent just yet, but we'll get there, and we did. We were very lucky that we stayed open for carryout, and we got a lot of support from the community, and people were extra generous. And I mean, it was just 4 of us doing those shifts. A lot of people were just straight furloughed. So we felt lucky just that we got to, even if we didn't get to interact with people, we got to just go to a job every day instead of just being full-blown quarantined. So yeah, it was a lot of uncertainty.
We did carry out for 3 weeks, and that was, I was going to the store every day. Like, I'd start my morning, I'd make a menu from what we made yesterday, go to the store, and I'd go find proteins. Then once I could find what proteins were available through all these different stores, I'd grab those, and then I'd come up in my head, like, what can we make out of this? And so be it lasagna dishes or fajitas or anything, go through, buy everything, come back, cook it all that day, make big family to-go style meals, make the menu for the next day, and go to bed and wake up and do it all again the next day. And like change the computer and upload the menu online and upload like every single day. That went on for 3 weeks, and then I got sick, and it was like, well, now we got to shut this down. It's getting too weird.
Once one of us actually officially started showing symptoms and were officially sick, we had to cut it off at that point. So
we were shut down for 6 more weeks after that. 8 weeks?
Something like that. We finally opened up at like the 3-month or 4-month mark. Yeah. We were able to open up at 50%. And very stringent, but we were able to open. And people were, at that point in time, allowed to start venturing out as long as you were face covered, sanitizing. But they were able to get outside of their house because they've been on lockdown too, just like we have. And we have to reintroduce them to a new world of don't touch.
not everybody came back to work immediately. A lot of people were still
Yeah.
scared. So people didn't know, they didn't want to bring home, especially with kids, they didn't want to bring home this crazy disease. There's a lot of fear.
We were not one of those that did the curbside thing, but we were using our time wisely and, trying to keep ourselves healthy. So we opened a month, I think, after everybody else was allowed to open. At least I remember maybe June 16th. A lot of places were open for business, and we waited until almost the middle of July, just kind of by design, to see what was going to happen and, kind of take it all in. It was scary. I actually fell back on old talents and bought a truck and did some residential window cleaning, which, shout out to Roger Thompson. It was a skill that I learned half a lifetime ago that if I didn't have today, it would have been a struggle. Don't know what I would have been doing, but hopefully there is a light at the end of this tunnel, and it ain't a train.
When we were shut down for a while, it actually gave us an opportunity. We had a patio out back, so it gave us time to deep clean the entire bar. We completely tore out the old patio, rebuilt it from scratch, because we had 6 months to do whatever.
6 weeks.
6 weeks. It felt like 6 months. I don't know. Last year's a blur. But as soon as we were officially allowed to open back up, there was a light at the end of the tunnel. We started out at phase 2. We had all these restrictions, only so many people in the bar. Everybody had to be socially distanced. Everybody had to wear a mask. You had to constantly clean. Went for a couple months, and then we got to phase 3, where it was a little bit more relaxed, but there were still restrictions. And then there was talk about going backwards again, and we might get shut down again.
It was scary for me. I was building the Westfield bar also when all this happened. And so I was 15 months into that project, and all of a sudden COVID shut everything down. And what was fortunate about that is we had all this money that we had saved up for our Westfield build. But at that point it was like, do we use that money to make sure that we save this bar? Do we move forward on our project out there? I mean, we already had contracts signed and everything, but it was a scary time. All this planning and all this work that we've done, is this all, moot? Are we going to lose everything? That was really scary. So, I mean, I was one of the fortunate ones that I get to own a bar now, 2 bars. And the idea of all that hard work, getting destroyed because of a damn COVID.
Yeah.
That was spooky.
Putting all your eggs in 2 baskets, but pretty much one basket. I've dedicated a large chunk of my life to owning a bar one day. And now COVID happens. There was a chance I could lose everything. Everything. A lot of bars and restaurants shut down because of COVID. A lot of people lost their jobs. I keep hearing horror stories of not necessarily bars and restaurants, but just businesses that have shut down. We were fortunate enough to be able to stay open when we could and bounce back from it, and we're still here in the community, and we try to help. We do the best we can. When we were doing to-go orders right when everybody started to get shut down, we didn't have to, but we stayed open so our kitchen people could still get, some money for being here. The people that were doing the to-go orders could get some money for being here. The people in the community that McDonald's is shut down. The grocery stores have been pillaged. We have some food for families. A lot of our food were family-style meals because we didn't know what to expect, and we were trying to do anything we could. That's, again, like a bar is a family, like in the community. A lot of people live within 5 minutes of here.
When Indiana was hosting March Madness, I did not come back to Indianapolis and work. I didn't feel comfortable, I didn't feel safe, and I did not come back and work. But I was so proud of the city, watching from my bed and hearing the broadcasters talk about how nice everything was.
When the whole tournament was here was very cool. Never done anything like that, and it was kind of just after this long winter's nap of A, it's winter in Indiana, we have no patio, we have, everybody's holed up. B, there's a pandemic going on, and we have all these restrictions, and everybody's kind of scared, and in general. So to go from that to it's March, your patio's back, restrictions are being lifted. Also, 64 basketball teams are coming to your town, and some of their fans, it wasn't full capacity, but it was a big kind of just like, okay, time to wake up, guys. I had to send out reminders, like, friendly reminder, NCAA is in town and will be the rest of the month. Like, don't gas out now. Like, take breaks when you can. Like, we went from being slightly overstaffed to, like, being a little bit understaffed. Like, it's time to pull it together, time to turn it on. And actually, we were on, like, one of the preferred lists or approved lists of companies that can even cater to the actual team. So that was super cool. You know, I got to, like, get past, like, the hotel guards with my, you know, giant box of carry out, and of course we tried to personalize it. I actually wrote all the players like numbers and like what they got on their bags and stuff, and it was awesome. We were ready for it. We killed it.
I was so proud of Indianapolis. I was so proud of my friends, not just people that own the place, but I'm talking friends that are dishwashers, friends that are cooks, friends that are bartenders, you know.
I come to work every day because of the people that I work with, the people that I work for. You just build lifelong friendships. And I still talk to people from Fox and Hound that I haven't seen physically in 10 years, but I still talk to them.
When I opened up my first bar, my bar, it was July 7th, it was a Thursday. I reached out to 10 friends by text message / phone calls, and like 7 of the 10 said they could come work for the first 2 weeks I was open. And that was my schedule, because the biggest thing I cared about was having people I could trust, people know how to bartend, people would appreciate, like, you know, customers coming in. Like, that's all we needed. And I wanted my friends to be there while I was opening up this bar, because I missed all my Indianapolis friends. So I think 7 of my 10 friends actually helped me open up my bar.
In the bar, I judge my memory guideposts as what's going on in the world. Like, what were you doing when, you know, the economy started crashing in 07, 08? Oh, I was working at Fox and Hound. I just met Miller, and I loved working every day. Like, that's how I kind of judge my life. Oh, we opened this bar in Fishers with my best friend. That's like another guidepost. Then I can judge where I am. Well, that's the other fun thing about the regulars and the coworkers that we've had throughout the years. If I go to Austin, Texas, I know several people that live there. If I go to Phoenix, I know several people. If I go to Florida, just about anywhere that I go in the country, except for maybe Nebraska. It's Nebraska. Nothing's in Nebraska.
Chad's in Nebraska.
Is Chad in Nebraska? Yeah. I take that back.
Chad's in Nebraska.
But damn near anywhere I go, I know someone, and I can hit somebody up and say, hey, I'll be in town for a couple days. Do you want to hang out, meet up, have just one beer? So that's another fun aspect of it. It's never one beer. Let's be real.
My favorite part about working the holidays is Thanksgiving. I love working day Thanksgiving shifts because you get a lot of grandmas that come with their grandsons and they're doing shots. And it's before they go visit the family. So you get this 70, 80, no kidding, like 85-year-old grandmas with their grandsons, great-grandsons, and they're doing a shot. And they are the nicest ladies in the world, man. And how cool is that? They get to spend that time with their grandson. And I'm sure, like, when they were 30, 25, and 20, like, they were still drinking like that, but they weren't 75. So that's why I've always told people at the bar, like, never marry over looks. Like, 75-year-old woman, 75-year-old woman, but she's going to drink with you on Thanksgiving. Then at least you know who you're getting into.
This is extreme family here. I mean, there's people, we open on Thanksgiving and we open on Christmas. And the moment that we unlock that door at 6 o'clock, because we still let everybody go celebrate with their families, Thanksgiving, Christmas, we only do volunteers, but everybody wants to work. The moment we open that door, just floodgates open. Everybody comes in. Because this is where, like, they spend time with that family, but then they come here and spend time with their family that they see every day, every week. Everybody wants, those are both great nights. And you see a lot of joy in those nights because of some people don't have families to spend it with. And so when they come in here, it's all the people they know. Everybody's, doing shots and drinks and having a good time. Those are always some of my favorite nights. Christmas is always a good one at the bar.
Yeah. And you run into people that you haven't seen in years and years. Another good example is opening day baseball at 82nd. I still run into people that I haven't seen in years. I don't like baseball. Going to the games is fun, but I don't like watching baseball on TV. But I go to opening day every year because I run into managers that I had at Fox and Hound. I run into coworkers that I had at other jobs, restaurants. I see regulars that I haven't seen in years.
That's a great day. It's like the best day of the year. Like everybody like wakes up. I always like wake up early, like jump out of bed. Like
Everybody's got their gear on.
Well, everybody's got, you know, especially at Joe's Castleton, you know, there's Cubs fan because we're close. There's St. Louis fans. There's Pittsburgh fans, Mets fans, the whole 9 yards. I have a T-shirt with just a baseball on it.
It does.
But like everybody argues and jokes with each other with division games and all that. But at the same time, everybody's there for the same reason: baseball and friends.
A lot of people who get into this industry are in their minds doing it until. So I had just graduated from college. I'll do this until I get a job in my field. Cut to 15 years later, and I really can't see myself doing really anything else.
The employees, for the most part, I look at them like my brothers and sisters, man. That's why I love being here. It is family. It is family taking care of family. And it's like an unconditional type of love.
Going to a bar is not just going there to get messed up and have a fun time, but it's also to build relationships, and they're lifelong relationships. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad.
Since 1997, it's been my career, and I learned to love it for everything that I could possibly love it for. And you know, you leave the stuff that you hate at the door, and you know, come back tomorrow and see if you can, you know, come out swinging. And it's just really satisfying when I know that everybody's had a good time and everybody's safe. And that's kind of what this atmosphere has been all about. It's run by a family, and it's for our family. And I feel really good about that. I've been offered spots at other places, and I can't, you know, I can't. I'll be here until I'm done doing it, and then sorry, but I'm through, you know. And that day hasn't come yet. So luckily, just turning 50, I've still got, you know, plenty of energy for it. We'll see what happens tomorrow. You never know. It's easy to love.
Right. Okay then.
Why did the chicken cross the road? I don't know, man, to get to the other side. No, to lay it on the line.
Come score a touchdown at Joe's.